Hey. Yes, the voice is still a little bit creaky, but at least I'm able to kind of move around today, so that's rather good. Hello there, everybody. I know that we'll have one or two people joining us because we've got ourselves the notifications going out for everybody who's a subscriber. I know that I've been getting one or two messages from the Americans wondering when I'm going to get started. And I think they're just as kerfuffled about the whole clocks going back and clocks going forward bit as everyone else is, and everyone else does. But no, I think we're all kind of back to sync, aren't we? 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. I think we're back up to speed. Yeah, please do jump in and let us know what's happening, where you're listening from, what you're up to. Have you been to a convention lately? Have you been to a convention last couple of weeks? Let us know how it's gone. I know we've got Clydeen Nee, who is absolutely talking to us about a convention. Well, two conventions. Number one, of course, she's involved in San Diego Comic Con, and Special Edition is just around the corner. But then you've got a local San Diego Gaslight Steampunk Expo, which she's been talking about, and she's wanting us to get in contact with about. So we're going to talk about that as well. We have got ourselves a packed show today, so plenty of stuff to talk about. Yes, welcome along. Toby's joining us. Aaron's joining us. Hello there, everybody. Welcome along. I just realised I haven't got my cup of tea. I might even try and do that really, really quickly while the credits roll. But who knows? Let's see if we can get something sorted. Either way, welcome along. And thank you very much indeed for bearing with us last week. My word, yeah, I was not well. I went straight to bed after last Sunday's show, and I slept the sleep of the just. So there we go. But anything that you want to talk about, of course, jump in on the comments. Let us know if there's anything that you want to jump in on, because I'm going to be predominantly talking about a couple of UK conventions. We are going to be talking about San Diego Special Edition. We are going to be talking about a couple of other things that I need to get off my chest as well. Yeah, we've got ourselves out a whole bunch to get into. So, if there's anything you want to jump into, do let us know, of course. We would love to have you dictate to us what our topics of conversation are, because this is your show. After all, I'm merely your humble host. A couple of things, of course, just to remind you, it's a live stream every Sunday, 6 p.m. GMT, whatever time it is across the globe. But we are now back up to 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, broadcasting on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Patreon. We also have the audio versions, which will be going live on Wednesday. But don't forget, after half an hour, the live stream on all the platforms closes, and then it continues as a live stream for the Patreon supporters. We are going to say, like I say, we got ourselves a bit of a packed show. So the back half of the show should be, I think it should be worthwhile, actually, if you are a Patreon supporter. The audio version of the full episode is uploaded tomorrow, 12 p.m. GMT, on SoundCloud, on Spotify, and on Apple. And then we have ourselves the complete video episode uploaded for free for everyone to watch. It's on Facebook and on YouTube, and Englishman in San Diego on Facebook, and Englishman SDCC on the old YouTube. That's how it works. That's the plan. And hopefully you can have yourself a great time with us as we get into another cracking show of Talkin Con. Let's do this, shall we? Hello. Look at that. Look at that. Look what my missus bought me. She's been to Harrogate today and she found that at a market. And she bought me a Star Wars pin, which is really, really cool. For £3. How cool is that? So there's a little bit of a Stormtrooper decal, which I will be wearing on my jacket in Thought Bubble and at Wales Telford Comic Con. Telford Takeover. Hello there, everybody. Welcome along to Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name is Leonard Sultana, and each and every Sunday we talk Comic Cons, con culture, and all the stuff and nonsense that you get to enjoy at such shows. Welcome, one and all. We have ourselves a whole bunch of people joining us from across the globe. So thank you very much indeed for saying hello. Let's see what we've got. We've got ourselves Toby, who's joining us. Good morning, Leonard. Hey, listen, good morning to you, Squire. We've got our neighbors, Ola from San Diego. Hello there. Welcome along to you. We also have an American joining us from the UK. Yes, Leanne D is in the country. She arrived on Saturday. She took a day yesterday to get over her jet lag. And then, today she's just been wandering around with my missus. We went to catch up. We had some breakfast this morning. I then buggered off to watch Eternals, which I'd already got my ticket bought and paid for on that one. But the missus, they wandered around and bought stuff. And they've had a great old time. It's great to have Leanne in the country. She's here to visit the UK, catch up with various bits and pieces that she was involved in the last time she came over to the UK in her very erstwhile youth. But she's also here for Thought Bubble as well. So it's all kind of come together that she's got the time to come here to the UK. We'll hopefully be bringing Leanne into the conversation next week as we bring our live reports from Thought Bubble. But we have ourselves a whole bunch of people who are saying hi. We've got Dan Berry, bring me back souvenirs, he says, and Leandy, I'm loving here, just might have to stay forever. To be fair, yes, it rained when she took her day of rest. It's actually been a really nice day today. It's been a bit cold because obviously the clocks have gone back. The controllers and the main programmers of the Matrix have flipped the switch, which says it's winter. So it's just like automatically the temperature drops 10 degrees. So that's the way it works. It's the default settings on the Matrix. So that's where we are at the moment. Chuck Cook, hola once more from San Diego. Hello there, Chuck. Welcome along. We got Clydeen Nee as well saying good morning, Leonard. I want to just very quickly address a couple of things that Clydeen has been messaging us. Just to let you know, if you are unaware of who Clydeen Nee is, Clydeen Nee is a fantastic colorist. She's also the person that's behind the Artist Alley department of San Diego Comic Con, which, as you can imagine, she's a little bit busy at the moment getting prepared with San Diego Comic Con Special Edition, which is in a couple of weeks' time. Well, she's got herself a couple of bits and pieces, a couple of news. She says she can chat a little bit about the pandemic in San Diego at the moment. The numbers are down. People are getting their booster shots, which is excellent. Fantastic news. And it's full steam ahead with Special Edition. She's doing a couple of panels, actually. Like I say, she's a renowned colorist, and she's doing a comic book coloring panel with Alex Sinclair and Joe, I want to say Chichardo. Yeah, so there we go. I'll go with that pronunciation. But I think she's more excited because she's turned around and said this was the first panel she mentions, doing a panel about UFOs, fact and fiction, with author Michael Grumley and comic book artist William Clausen. If you're going to be in attending a Special Edition, number one, get in contact with us because I kind of pushed this last week. Please do let us know if you are attending Special Edition, because I would love to actually have a couple of live streams come in, and so we can get the vibe of Special Edition. Please do get in contact with us. And number two, yeah, if you can get the chance, pop along to a couple of the panels. We are going to be talking about Special Edition and the panels that went live this week. We're going to talk about that very shortly indeed. She also mentions as well about the Gaslight Steampunk Expo convention that has just been held in San Diego, and according to the coordinators of this convention, there were 0 cases of COVID-19 reported. You had to have been masked and vaccinated or produce a test that showed you were clear 72 hours before attending the show. They did mandate masks and they limited attendance to 1,000 people. Fair play. It's showing responsibility to not only your guests, but also to your attendees, to your organization team. And I think that's probably the absolute best that you can do when it comes to kind of organizing and preparing for a convention in this current state. The numbers are still particularly high. We're still very much in pandemic. I know a lot of people are doing their best to absolutely deny the fact that pandemic is happening, but no, it's still here. It's still a thing. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's down to responsible convention organizers to put something together to make sure that guests and attendees are well and truly safe. So there we go. Let's have a go. Andrew Dickinson. He's only going to be doing Sunday Thought Bubble now. It was only going both days for Mark Bernardin. Mark, unfortunately, has cancelled. So, yes, I can appreciate if you have specific guests that you're wanting to go and see at shows. At the end of the day, if they're not going to be there, the kind of appeal kind of drops. But I personally feel that the Thought Bubble draw is still quite strong. But we're going to get back to that in a second because I want to get to cover something that I talked about last time. Let's have a look at what else. Dan Berry, I got my 5G booster yesterday, and I know that he's going to be attending a special edition, so looking forward to getting a bit of a report from him. Chuck Cook is attending San Diego Comic Con special edition. Excellent stuff. Please do get in contact. Do let us know how that's going to happen and what you're going to be getting up to. And Toby, this guy right here is going to be at special edition as well. Excellent stuff indeed. Yeah, let's see what else. Yeah, talking about the way that conventions look after their fans and how they look after their attendees and how they react responsibly. I talked last week somehow because I was incredibly ill, and I'd like to apologize once again. I don't know if I want to apologize for actually putting the thing on because it wasn't a full show with graphics and all this stuff, and it was very badly prepared. But that's because my head was full of green gunk. I was not well at all. Still got a bit of a tickly cough as well, so I'm going to try and fight that off as we do today's show. But as we talked about last week, they did release a week and a half ago the floor plans for Thought Bubble 2021, taking place next weekend in the convention center in Harrogate. Now, I felt a little uncertain and unsure because I actually felt that the plans and the layouts for not only the front hall, which I believe is called this time the Red Shirt Hall, and the second hall, which is this year called the Comixology Originals Hall, that I felt that they hadn't changed the layout, and therefore it just wasn't safe, and I didn't feel that there maybe enough had been done. This idiot here misrepresented, misremembered. Is what I did, because if I could show you, this is actually the floor plan to 2019. This was the last show that took place for Thought Bubble in November of that year, and as you can see, this is one of the slight clip there of one of the floor plans for 2019 for the front room, the what is now the Red Shirt Hall. And there you have the tables going down the up and down the left and right hand side of the convention hall, and you have 3 rows of tables. So you have 1 and 2 rows of walking in between, separated in the middle, of course. So you've got 6 sort of like circles of tables, and I felt it was a bit close, and that's what I remembered as actually happening last year. As it happens, I will stand utterly corrected because I was contacted by Chloe Green, who is the festival director for Thought Bubble, and she gave us a fair reprimand and reminded us that they are doing their absolute damnedest to protect not only the guests but also the exhibitors as well which they are doing. Certainly one thing I do remember is that the back room, or the third hall of the convention center, was actually split in half. So it was half was tabling, and then it was kind of like a large seating area at the back, and it wasn't exactly filled all the way back. Aha! I have been informed and indeed quietly reminded that what in actual fact has happened is that they've changed the layout enough to give a lot of space between the aisles. Instead of 3, it's actually 2. So that's where I misremembered. So I thought there was 2 in 2019. If this is the case, and it's absolutely the case, this will mean that there's a lot of room to move around. There's going to be space for people to kind of have that kind of distancing, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want. So excellent stuff. That's what we like to hear as well. Also, we have ourselves, let's have a look. Let's go to that Bubble Boy hall as well. Let's see which one we're looking at. No, okay. If I stop that and restart this one and go to here and show you the Bubble Boy map, this gives you a more an idea of the back room. Like I say, this, in fact, the way it kind of works, you have a cafe and seating there in the kids zone. What you're seeing there, that seating or that tabling section here, that actually wasn't there last time. So in actual fact, what they're actually doing is they're kind of introducing more seating further back, and that kind of gives more people space to move, and that's where you're getting your space to kind of to move around. So excellent. This is what we want to see. This is what we want to hear. So I would like to apologize to Thought Bubble and the organizers, and to Chloe for my misremembering of 2019, because, like I say, that's how that's how I remembered it. I seem to remember that it was just the 2 rows. Excuse me. But it wasn't. It's 3 rows. Now it's down to 2. So we're going to see a lot more space available to move around. So that's rather cool. Excellent stuff indeed. Thank you very much indeed to Chloe for getting in contact and for clarifying those bits and pieces as well. Let's have a look at what else we've got here. Toby is asking the question, for anyone who does know, is the booster going to be required at Special Edition? Haven't got my booster yet. And Chuck has answered to that. The SDCC COVID-19 requirements do not mention boosters. Leanne D is jumping in. Toby, you do need to have your 2nd dose, but not the 3rd booster. If you are eligible, you should get it. We're going to get into the panels of San Diego Comic Con Special Edition a little bit later on in the show. This is where I'm going to introduce my special guest for today, because it's great to have his take on the next topic that we're going to be bringing onto the conversation. It's a bit close to his face, so hopefully it's a cracking shot right up his nose. But we have ourselves Joel Meadows, who's joining us. Hello, Joel. How are you, sir?
Hello. Apologies, I haven't used my mobile because I haven't got a webcam on my regular
Don't worry about it.
today,
You know what? It's actually a better signal and it's a better picture. So it's looking good. You're looking great. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Are you joining us at Thought Bubble next week?
Oh yes, no, I'm coming up on Friday, so I will indeed be there.
That's what we like to hear. Is there anything in particular that's kind of caught your eye in the announcement so far? Any special guests that you are particularly looking forward to catching up and checking out?
Well, I'm going to be catching up with Joel Jones because we've got her Tripwire award. So on a kind of personal basis, it's cool that she's coming, and also Hassan, the man of many talents, letterer, editor, etc. We've got his award as well. It's nice to see David Mack there. I mean, he hasn't been to the UK in a few years. So they've got a pretty strong lineup, and I'm just going to basically wander around, and this will be the 4th show I've been back to since the post-COVID days, and I'm beginning to feel a lot more comfortable about going to shows again. Considering all the things are in place, all the safety measures are in place. So I'm really looking forward to catching up with people like yourself and David Bailey, who's just there, kind of wandering, and quite other friends. So yeah, I think it should be a fun weekend.
It's when I think I posted a little bit of a jokey map was it yesterday or day before yesterday, and basically saying because there's loads of people yesterday posting 1 week to go, here's where you can find us on the floor. So I posted a picture of the maps, and it was basically a squiggly line going
Yes, I
pretty
saw
much
that.
everywhere, like
That
an
was pretty fun.
ant
I'll be following your path probably.
I'm sure you will.
Weekend.
Yeah, there's a fair few that I want to do. Check it. I am looking forward to checking out a fair number of people next weekend. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
But this is where I want to kind of talk to you about some other things that are happening here in the UK, especially when it comes to the conventions landscape. Obviously dominated when it comes to pop culture by the likes of Wales Comic Con, from the likes of MCM.
Yes.
Also, all these really big shows wanting to make a big splash, and obviously MCM kind of struggled with its London show and a couple of its the satellite shows as well, because we are still post pandemic, and it's struggling to get the kind of draw, certainly like the studios and stuff. And now we have a kind of new player, he says, with air quotes, very, very prominent, considering that it's a previous organizer of MCM who left the organization when they did the buyout with Repop.
Yes.
He's back. And the new organization is MegaCon. Now, MegaCon has actually been running, or the organization that is it Colin has been involved in, has been kind of behind the scenes and doing other shows elsewhere. But this week we got the announcement that they're back to the UK and they're saying wanting to do something different, which, to be honest, it's sales talk. You can kind of get that from every kind of organization and trying to get something sorted. But yeah, plenty of hype about the new shows, putting stuff together, which they are organizing. And we've got ourselves a Birmingham show taking place on the 26th and 27th of March 2022. I believe tickets are now available, and they're going to be doing Dublin and Manchester as well.
Yes.
Basically, let's just go first straight into it. Your thoughts. What do you feel about a new player on the game, on the scene? MegaCon coming to Birmingham in 138 days, Dublin in 236 days, and Manchester in 264 days. So certainly taking up that first half of the kind of the calendar. What's your thoughts on MegaCon taking up some of the space?
Well, I mean, I guess there is space for more shows, possibly. I mean, in these times of post-COVID, not every show that was around, prior to that is still going to take place. I mean, it seems to me very much they place themselves very much in the MCM slot, quite deliberately, because these are cities that have MCM shows, or MCM used to be at Manchester, and admittedly these didn't have one in Dublin. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I realized they started following me on Twitter about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I had a little bit of a dig then about who they were, and we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I guess I might be attending some of these shows, although I will be fairly busy next year, prepping our own event, as you know. But
indeed,
I definitely will be checking out, some of these, because I'm just, professional curiosity to see, what sort of package they put together. So I guess at this point, I have to kind of just wait and see who they've got and sort of what their approach is.
I'm really curious as to what kind of connections they've managed to maintain in that kind of interim, because the general consensus has been that there's been a non-compete clause, which has now come to.
It's been 4 years, hasn't it, since Reed?
It has, yeah.
I was for our power list. There's somebody who's connected to Reed in the power list. So I couldn't remember when MCM was taken over, and I had to do a little bit of a kind of a dig, and I realized so it's been 4 years. So it's quite a long time. So as you say, I guess it must be a 5-year period. So basically, they weren't allowed to compete for 5 years. So we'll have to see. I mean, I'm very curious, and I may well check them out myself.
Considering that we have also had the announcement from MCM, because they have announced that they're going to be cutting back on their shows. We've just had the London show, obviously, a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And we have Birmingham as well.
Yes.
But it looks like that they've decided to pare back on the portfolio here in the UK. And they posted this announcement. This came on the 4th, so it came on Friday.
Yes.
Friday morning. Thank you for making MCM London 2021 amazing. Your energy and passion for the shows is what makes them so great, and we couldn't have asked for a better return after 2 long years. We can't wait to do it all again at MCM Birmingham 2021. As we begin planning for 2022, we're very sad to announce that we are unable to host MCM Scotland and MCM Manchester. This was not a decision that was easy to make, or was it made lightly. Shows were a huge part of our community, and the team will truly miss building those shows for you in Manchester. Instead, focusing on 2 incredible MCM shows in London on the 27th and 29th of May, and the 28th to the 30th of October, and 1 Birmingham show on the 12th to 13th of November. It really does look like that separation. It's a con of 2 halves. So you have MegaCon that's going to take up the front half of the year, and then at the back end from like May, so like the second half,
yes,
you've got the MCM shows. I'm just wondering how much communication has gone on between the two to kind of coordinate this, because I guarantee they didn't want to clash with each other's dates.
Well, possibly. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, obviously they sold the company, but maybe they have been talking. I mean, I don't have any kind of extra insight with that because I haven't talked to. It was Paul and Brian, I think.
Yeah,
and I haven't spoken to either of them since they sold MCM, so it's been a while. But I mean, it would make sense because it looks like they're kind of treading similar ground. So unless they want to go head to head with each other, I guess it makes sense for them to actually go, okay, we'll give them, like a bit of clear ground and go, okay, MCM can have this and we'll have this, and we're not gonna. Although, didn't you say that there's going to be a Birmingham show from these MegaCon people?
Well, yes. I mean, let's just have a quick.
So that seems. So it's kind of we're getting mixed.
It really, it really does
miss.
seem like MegaCon have got like the north of England,
yes,
Birmingham, Dublin, Manchester, and north of the UK, and then you've got MCM that's going to take up the south.
I suppose. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, I'm assuming that they might follow a similar model to MCM, in that there'll be kind of celebrity guests and a comics village. Obviously, I won't call it that, but something like a comics village and a few comic creators. But we'll have to see, what they have. I mean, I haven't had a proper look myself. After I finish here, I will take another proper look at this because I'm curious, to see what they've got planned. But yeah, I mean, the more the merrier. We'll have to see. We'll see what happens, basically.
I mean, what's your take right now? I mean, if we look at the last month, I think Lakes and Meanwhile in Coventry were the shows that really did kickstart the whole convention calendar back off here in the UK.
Yes, that's true.
And where we are in post-COVID or post-lockdown, let's not go post-COVID yet. We're nowhere near that yet.
No, that's true.
Where do you feel we are on the convention landscape, considering, like you say, you're getting your own show kind of ramped up? You've got your show getting planned. I believe the site goes live
this coming week. Yes, so there will be lots of things for people to talk about. So I feel that we're kind of like at the 50% mark, if you know what I mean. We're kind of 50% of the way, to where we were pre-COVID. That's me. I mean, it's a completely unscientific statement, but I feel, I've been to 3 shows. I'm, going to a 4th. I'm going to a 5th show out of the UK and Holland the weekend after. And I'm feeling more comfortable going back to shows because they have certain things in place. They have, safety precautions, COVID precautions in place. I mean, MCM, I thought they did quite a good job because they had wide aisles. I mean, I did wear my mask for some of it because I felt more comfortable.
I'm trying to remember. Did we get a report from you about MCM?
No, not.
Yeah. So let's talk about what your take on MCM was then.
I thought it was decent. I mean, as I said to you, last time I was on here, anyone who can put any kind of show on at all in 2021, has my huge admiration. And MCM, as you remember yourself, it was a huge show. It had 100 and something plus thousand people milling around that place, and there's no way that anyone would have done that, in 2021. And I believe it was 27,000 people on the Saturday, so it was 50% in terms of its capacity, but it still felt quite buzzing, and and I think the traders and the indie people did quite well. So I have to say, I kind of take my metaphorical hat off to them and say that, they did a decent job, all things considered, because you say we're not out of the woods yet with any of this. We can't have the shows that we used to have yet, so we have to be a little bit more careful. When I went in, I had a press badge, I had to show my vaccine card, and I got a wristband in exchange, which is fine. I think that's perfect. As long as if you show proof that you've been vaccinated and you have something to show that that's the case, then that's fine. I didn't feel any extra inconvenience through that, and I was quite happy for them to enforce that.
Yeah. I mean, we've got that was something else that Chloe made damn sure that I wanted to reiterate, because I think that certainly the main things that she wanted to for me to just clarify is that change of the aisles setup, and certainly the ability to people to have a little bit more movement in the aisles.
Yeah, I felt like it was open. It felt a lot less crowded, and it felt safe, which obviously these days is what you want. If you're going to a show, you don't want to feel like you're going to endanger your life, obviously. So this is a serious concern, and I think they pulled it off pretty well. And I was there on the busiest day on the Saturday, and I thought they did a pretty decent job of it.
Yeah. This is Thought Bubble festival organizer Chloe Green. She also mentioning about the whole business of mask mandates and making sure that everyone is double jabbed as well.
Yes.
So they're doing absolutely everything they can to keep everyone safe. So we'll see how it. So I think the pair of us will see how it feels next week. Plenty of things taking place, and like I say, what I think I've been talking about really is about the positioning and how people are kind of finding their space on the convention, not only in the calendar but also just in the country as well.
Of course. Things have changed. As you say, the map of comic conventions, UK comic conventions, is still shifting, and some shows, which we used to have, in the pre-COVID days, they won't come back, or they'll have to change. They've already had to change. They have to adapt and to evolve, and I think that makes perfect sense, obviously.
Yeah. Which kind of then makes me bring up the question, as we're talking about your show.
Yes.
And let's talk about Bristol.
Okay.
Let's talk about Tripwire presents Bristol Comic Con.
Indeed.
Make sure the branding is absolutely in there, sir.
Yes.
Let's ask yourself about that show and why Bristol. Why was it important to host it there?
Well, because some people who listen to your show, they're a little bit younger than ourselves, but for 12 or 13 years, Bristol was one of the only places to have a UK comic show. And they did a really good job. They brought some top quality US guests, a lot of really quality UK people. And Bristol is a great city. It's got, 2 big universities. It's got a great art scene. There's lots of great creators who are based either in Bristol or Bath. And it's still a great place. So when we were thinking, we've done 2 years of Portsmouth, and we're very grateful. We had 2 great experiences with them, and we learned a great deal, from Andy Grays and his team. And we're very, very grateful. We thank them for inviting us to take part with that. But we just thought we would move on and kind of do our own show. And so we thought Bristol was a great place to go back to, because it's a great comic city. And as I said, it's got a really nice feel. There's lots of students there. It's got a big art scene. And we found, ironically, we've gone back to the old hotel that the show used to be in. We're hoping to grow it, but we thought we'd start with something smaller because we didn't want to run before we could walk. So we thought we'd have something a little bit more kind of boutique. We're still planning. It's still a great show. We've still got some amazing guests, but it's going to be a slightly smaller show, and we hope to grow it as the years progress.
You've been involved in organising conventions before. Certainly, Southampton Comic Con was Portsmouth. Sorry, get it right. Sorry, down south. It's for me.
Southampton. It's all the same, isn't it? All these southern. It's all the same,
Very much so. So, what lessons did you learn from running or getting involved with those shows, and what do you feel can you bring from those events to the Bristol show?
Well, obviously, one thing that Portsmouth did exceptionally well is that they promoted the show extremely well. There was signage everywhere. They promoted it locally. They were brilliant at that. They were very good at organisation. So things like ticket sales, getting people in, moving the crowds around. sort of dealing with guests and making sure that they were happy. Portsmouth did that extremely well because they run the Guildhall, which is one of the best venues in the the south of England, I would say. So they've got this experience of running venues, of running gigs, comedy gigs, music gigs, and things like that. So they brought that experience to bear. So what do we learn? Well, we learned, hopefully we've picked up a few tips from them in terms of doing stuff which is different. I guess what we're doing is we're almost trying to make it almost kind of like a magazine, but like a live magazine. So we've had next year will be 30 years of the mag. So we'll be celebrating the anniversary in certain ways, which will be kind of, we know what we're doing, but we're kind of finalizing that closer to the time. We will almost make it kind of like a live magazine. So there will be panels, there will be workshops with a number of our big international guests, so people will be able to get an hour and a half with some really big names. And we wanted to make it feel inclusive as well. If you're like an indie guy and you want to want to book a table, we don't want it to feel, some shows, without kind of naming names, they have a certain kind of criteria for getting people in, but we want everyone, if we can fit them in, we'll have them. We want to have a good mix. We want people to come in, we want people to feel like they're comfortable coming in, like they're coming to the show. They don't want to feel, like they have to have a 4-year degree in comics before they feel, like they're entitled to come to our show. I want them to be able to bring their kids, if their kids like, Teen Titans cartoons or Brave and the Bold or anything at all. We want this to be a broad show, but not broad in the MCM way, but broad, in like the comic sense.
Sure. How are you curating the show? Is it yourself? Is it
myself and Andy Coleman, and we've got David Macho, who's the guy who runs a lot of European shows. He's come on board he's like a show consultant, helping us out with a lot of guests. So we have some really strong European guests as well as US and UK. So it's tough because we only get like 2,000 people in the hotel, so that we could probably get more, but we can't accommodate more. So we have to be a little bit careful in terms of the amount of guests that we have. But I think we're beginning to find the good balance between the amount of guests we've got there and the amount of panels and things happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think the anyone who organizes, who feels that one day they could organize a convention, they just think, right, okay, we'll just go straight for the headliners, and that's when it almost becomes fantasy football, where you're having to pick and choose between your dream list, but also being a little bit more practical about the outlay and the funds that you have.
Exactly. I mean, unfortunately, the cost of guests has gone sky high. For example, like comparing it to like the old Bristol, a lot of guests now cost a hell of a lot more than they used to. So, we've set a specific guest budget, and we have to stick to that. And but there's always years 2 and 3. So the nice thing about this is that we're now, let's think November. We've got 10 months until our show. It'll fly by. But we need to start thinking, about year 2, which if everything goes to plan, which hopefully it will, we need to think about future years. So if we can't get a guest at the first year, then we can think about them, for the second or third. So it really is about doing a lot of forward planning if you're putting a show together.
Sure. Is there anyone that you can announce now? Is there anyone that you can talk about? I know that there's been 1 or 2 kind of already leaked out there to some degree, but is there anyone that you can kind of give us a bit of a tease? We are now in Patreon mode at this point, so
yes.
this will not be going out to the wider world until
one
Wednesday.
is a legendary American comic artist, but I'm not going to say who he is. But we've got, in terms of British guests, we've got Sean Phillips, and we've got Jock, we've got Martin Simmons and Lawrence Campbell, and a number of other top quality UK talent. But we've tried to mix it up. We've got some, as I said, we've got some European guests, some UK and some US, and when the website does go live, people will be able to get a glimpse of who we're announcing. So I'm excited. We tried to make a nice balance, between the guests that we've got, so that we haven't just got one kind of comic creator.
Yeah. Like I say, we are now actually in Patreon mode. So thank you very much indeed to everyone who is a Patreon supporter and is watching now. Don't forget, I will be doing my best to get the merch out over the course of the next couple of weeks. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit tied up, what with Wales and with Thought Bubble next weekend. But bear with us. We'll do what we can to get those out as soon as we possibly can. Let's have a quick look at a couple of the comments as well, because I threw something up on the screen. Andrew Dickinson is a regular watcher, and he organised a show at the Royal Armouries in Leeds last week.
Yes,
25% less trade, 20% down on game tables. People through the doors down 10% compared to 2019. I get a sneaking suspicion this was the same tabletop gaming show that I may have walked through because I was DJing upstairs in the Royal Armouries.
Oh, really?
So I should have said hello. If he was there, I should have said hello. But yeah, Andrew, if that was you. Basically, the large room at the Armouries as well. The largest is Ballroom 20, slightly over 1,000 people. So yeah, that'd be about right. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, for any kind of show in right now in 2021,
as I was saying, to get any
25% less trade is pretty good. Yeah,
it is impressive.
I mean, what else do you feel that is going to be? I mean, because we haven't talked dates yet. We are talking Bristol.
Yes.
When's the show going to be taking place?
It's the 3rd to the 4th of September 2022.
So we're talking
it's the first weekend in September next year.
Yeah, some way away. Clearly, we're going to be in a post-COVID world.
But we're in a slightly different position, I hope, by then, because things seem to be moving a lot more positively. I mean, let's be honest, you couldn't imagine any show last November, and we've got one of the major UK comic shows happening, this week. So I feel that we are in a better position, and so I'd like to think that by next September, 10 months down the line, we'll be in an even more positive position, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say that we've all learnt that the world can change on a dime.
Yes, and we can't take anything for granted.
We can't take anything for granted. But I think something that we can see is an improvement. Like, say, the boosters are rolling out. A lot of people are preparing themselves. And I think we talked about this at Meanwhile Comic Con. And I'm certain the conversation came up at Lakes as well, that shows like that then give people a little bit more confidence.
Yes.
And therefore, Thought Bubble and Wales and other shows happening just only a few weeks later will have a little bit more of a firmer footing because of those.
It's about building up momentum and rebuilding up people's confidence so that they can go. They're quite happy to to be in a room with a few thousand people and feel safe to be able to basically kind of go back to the thing that they used to love without feeling that they're endangering themselves. That is
I mean, I'm really curious about. Thought Bubble, like I say, they're making all the efforts.
Yes,
I'm curious about Wales, if anything, because of the way that they're running their show. They're obviously operating with the mandates as dictated by the Telford International Conference Centre, and they're doing their best they'll be doing their best to protect everybody. But they've got themselves some quite high-profile names and not that many cancellations. They've had a few, but it's still one hell of a lineup. So I think that's going to be a test for the pop culture end. So back to back, we're going to go and kind of get a sense of where we are in the full length. Like I say, I'm going to be at both shows. Joel is going to be joining us at Thought Bubble. So looking forward to bringing you some more updates about those shows over the next couple of weekends. But that's not the only thing that you're on to talk about today, Joel, because you've been a busy bee this week.
Busy, yes.
You have. If you'd like to talk to us about the other Tripwire project that is getting a lot of attention, and that is the Winter Print Special. Tell us all about it, sir.
Okay, well, last year we published our first print magazine in, let me get this right, and I think it was in 9 years. And we were going to bring it out in spring last year, but obviously, COVID came along. So we basically had to put the kibosh on that. But we got it out eventually. We got it out in January of this year. We were very, very pleased with it. We did it through the direct market and through Indiegogo and also through Kickstarter. And so that went really well. So we thought we'd have a go at another one. So this is a 148 page full color, obviously with a little bit of grayscale throughout. So basically it's celebrating, there's a hell of a lot of content. There's 60 years of the Fantastic Four, as Leonard's just showing the cover, which is an exclusive piece done by our friend David Michael Beck. There's a big career interview with Liam Sharp going back to his Marvel UK days and his 2000 AD days, talking about Starhenge, which is coming out, as you know, from Image at some point next year. There's 40 years of American Wealth in London. There's a look back at Universal Monsters and how the big horror movies of the 30s and 40s still influencing horror movies now, going back in 60s, talking about Hammer, There's so much content, and there's also an archive section at the back.
I'm going to make sure that I don't show the whole thing, and it's in low res.
Yes,
but certainly will give people a sense of it.
Drew Struzan, who's the legendary poster artist who worked on Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Shawshank Redemption. He talks about 40 years of Indiana Jones and how we approach the posters. So that's our first Drew Struzan interview. So we're very chuffed with that. It's a really nice piece. And then we've got a look at 40 years of Indiana Jones. One of our writers, Ed Hipkiss, looking at how the film is dated, whether it's still up to scratch, whether it's still I think it is, how it's aged over 40 years. We're looking at the history of indie in that, and then there's so much content I can't even remember all of it. I mean, I'm going through italicizing it at the moment, but I think it's our best package ever, our best print magazine. Last year I was very proud of it, but I think in here I feel like everything is top notch. I hope so.
And your contributors, if you can give them due props as well, the writers and the journalists that are involved, let people know about them and the kind of articles that they've covered.
Oh, of course, there's so many. To kick off, we've got Stephen Dalton, who's written for The Guardian and for NME. He's done a fantastic piece about 40 years of American life in London, looking at the history of the film and the genesis and talking about how it's kind of perceived now. He's a great writer. Ed Hipkiss, another great writer, wrote our Indiana Jones at 40 piece. Tim Hayes has he's conducted our fantastic Liam Sharp interview. And then we've got Andrew Coleman, who's written 60 years of Fantastic Four piece. And then in the Stripwire section at the back, we've also got... there's a second Sherlock Holmes strip that I've written, which is drawn by our amazing artist Andy Bennett, and the strip would not be a fraction of what it is without his contributions. It would be a shadow. He's a phenomenal artist. And we've got one page Roger Langridge, Fred the Clown. We got this Kent Menace, my friend Scott Braden's. We got a couple of prose pieces from that, and also a strips from that as well. And we got Techno Freak by John Charles and Tom Newell. We've got a phenomenal lineup. We've got, this magazine would be nothing without the people contributing to it. And we've got a lot of people contributing at this time. And the strip section, I think, is really strong. And then, but the features are equally as strong. We've got some great content in here.
Yeah. I know that you're taking the project to 2 crowdfunding platforms. If you'd like to explain your approach to that, why the 2 and why your crowdfunding approach this time round?
Well, like last time we did 2 because we didn't quite make what we needed to on the first one. So we went back and we kind of rejigged it. But I think that the audience is slightly different between Indiegogo and Kickstarter. I talked to a couple of people that said that they wouldn't throw into Indiegogo, partly because it's not for a political reason. One person said he found it hard to register, and he said he found it hard to pay, the money into them. So, but we're offering slightly different perks between the 2. So we're making sure that the 2 campaigns are different, and I think that they have kind of different eyes on them, and they're different kinds of platforms. I mean, obviously Indiegogo, if your audience doesn't, I'm sure they do, you get the money if you're going to hit your target, whereas Kickstarter is kind of all or nothing. So it's a different kind of approach. So we thought, to be honest, that we would kind of try and cover our bases, if you like, by having both. As I said, we're offering different perks for both. One has got Andy Bennett is doing Sherlock Holmes sketches at the £500 level on one. I think it's the Indiegogo, and he's doing these £500. He does these amazing. They're dark Muppet sketches, which he's been doing. They're phenomenal. He's been doing them on Facebook. He's been putting them up, and they're going to be available. There are 3 slots available for that on the Kickstarter, which will launch in December. So we're trying to make them different things, and we're not writing them at the same time because that would also cause confusion and all manner of things. So we thought we'd give a kind of bit of clear blue water, if you like, between the 2. So Indiegogo's November, Kickstarter's December.
In that regard, then, how's the rewards going to go for, say, that first campaign, considering that people are then going to be waiting another month for the second campaign to complete?
What do you mean by how that? What do you mean?
Well, because you're running the campaigns concurrently, so that first campaign is going to stop,
Yes.
come to a close.
Yes.
And then they're going to be waiting for their rewards as the second campaign continues. I'm just wondering.
Well, the thing is that obviously with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, there's always a few months built in. I mean, we're not going to be able to, I wouldn't want to send out for example, the Indiegogo perks during the month of December and the run up to Christmas, when these things could either get lost or they could go awry. So they won't be going out until after the new year anyway. So I don't think that's a problem. So we built in. I mean, Kickstarter recommends that you should kind of under promise and over deliver. I think that was there, which I think I've tried to use that as our maxim, which I think is good because last year, with COVID and things, we had to deal t-shirt companies. We got t-shirts made, but some were shut for 3 months because of lockdown. So we had to completely rethink, everything that we wouldn't have even had to consider pre-COVID. So things are a little bit easier now because we found a place to do that. So I think we're in a good position for both. We're offering equally cool stuff. I mean, as well as, the Andy Benton, we've got this really cool pastiche posters. So what we've done is, we did it last time. We've taken some really cool, iconic old comic covers, things like New Teen Titans 1, Walking Dead 1, Hellboy Seed Destruction 1. And we've done it as if Tripwire, produced an issue dedicated to it. So they're really fun. So, for example, we've got Tripwire, in the logo style of, last time we did Green Lantern 80, what was it, 76, I think. So we're just having a bit of fun. So they're really cool. They're really nice. They're going to be A3, and at one of the levels, actually a number of the levels, we've got those offered, and we're going to offer them for Kickstarter and Indiegogo as well. So we're offering different prints for the 2 different platforms too.
Excellent. And also the people involved, the professionals that have been talked to as part of the actual edition as well. Some, like you say, we mentioned Joe Struzen, but we've had we've got, if we can just show Liam Sharp as well. Got himself a nice profile article in there as well. He's had an incredible.
He's had a phenomenal year. I mean, to think the guy he's always been amazing, but over the last year, suddenly he's kind of gone into the stratosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is phenomenal, really.
Just talk about the other contributors, because I mean,
we've got Jimmy Palmer.
I mean, it's safe to say that your personal address book when it comes to the comics industry is pretty damn enviable.
Well, it's not bad. I mean, I think you're probably right. Yeah, I mean, it's I thought we, hit up a few people to chat to them, and the Struzen one, as well as the new interview, we got a big classic interview near the back in our archive section. He talks about his career, and he talks about leaving movie posters, and he talks about creating the Back to the Future posters, and he's had a phenomenal career, as you know yourself, and he very rarely had people sit for him. Often they were just photographs that he was supplied with, and and I very rarely read my own stuff. But, this is an 11, 12-year-old interview, and I even kind of quite enjoyed reading it because I'd forgotten a lot of the things that we talked about. And, and then we've got a Joe Kubert interview from the archive talking about Tor. He was an amazing man. And we talked about, his obsession with dinosaurs and, always making his art, always evolving. I mean, his art, to pardon the pun if we're talking about Tor, but his art was always evolving, and he was looking at things like the old masters. And we got a very cool Carl Baker interview from our archive as well, talking about his King David book he did years ago for Vertigo. So we're trying to mix that. We're trying to have an interesting mix, trying to make it really kind of diverse in its subject matter in terms of who we're talking to and what they're talking about, and to give people a flavor of 29 years of our history. And it's hard. We've got a lot of interviews in our archive, but I think we've done a really good job, hopefully, of giving people that flavour.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when it comes to Tripwire, I mean, I personally read it, and I read it back in the day, very much because of its enthusiastic embracing not only of great talent but also their legacy. I'm just curious as to how. You're going to kind of separate between, like you say, that the legacy kind of content with the slightly newer, the young guns, as it were. Is the young gun stuff going to be more for the internet version of Tripwire? So it's going to be a little bit more vital, and then the print magazine for the more discerning reader, I think, is a polite way of putting it.
Well, I think that the magazine, from the archive introductory section, there's a page which introduces the archive. I mean, I'd like to think that people interested in the newer stuff will hopefully dip into the classic stuff as well. But as I said, if you go up to page 96, I think, in the PDF that I sent you, if you go before Kubert, if you keep scrolling up.
That's okay. Go on. Keep going.
Keep going. Then basically, it's kind of demarcated there to say this is our archive. This is kind of dipping back into our more classic material. But I hope people will look at that as well, because, it's just as interesting because, context is everything, and and basically, here we go. That's the one.
Yeah.
Page before. So basically, you know, a lot of the creators who they love now, who are working, you know, they're kind of, you know, to use that expression, standing on the shoulder of giants. You know, which is I think Isaac Newton said it. So it's about standing on, you know, the shoulders of these people's legacy and of their career. So I like to think that it's there, but we want people to dip into that as well. You know, that's the hope.
Excellent stuff. So if you can just remind people of the addresses and where people can kind of find out more about this, the campaign.
Of course, right. It's got a ridiculously long URL, so I'm going to say it slowly and hopefully you'll put it up as well. So if they want to pledge on the Indiegogo, it's https www.indiegogo.com/projects/winter-print-winter-2021-print-2022-252-284 #. So it rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It's a place in Wales, you know, the longest place name in the UK. But hopefully you'll put it up as well, so people can go there if they want to check out stuff related to it. They can go to tripwiremagazine.co.uk as well, if they want to see, because I've been putting up preview pages, and you know, and it's, you know, it's going quite well. We're on about £559, so we're at about 11% with about 23 days left. So I feel very hard, and I want to thank everyone who's pledged so far. You know, things are still tough. You know, people don't even have regular jobs still. So whatever people can put in there, I'm incredibly grateful. You know, people were fantastic last time, and you know, so far people have been great. I had a few industry people, and you know, just some kind of regular people that follow us on things like Twitter and Facebook. And as I said, you know, thanks to everyone so far, and everyone else, you know, who will hopefully throw in as well. We're incredibly grateful. You know, we couldn't do any of this without our supporters, and you know, people are fantastic. You know, comics is a community, and people are amazing. They're very generous with their time. They're very generous with their money sometimes as well. So I want to thank everyone who's pledged and everyone who's going to, you know, throw into this as well. And even people who supported it by sharing it, you know, on Twitter or Facebook or on social media. You know, people have been extremely generous.
Yeah. I mean, looking through what I've seen of the special, it's an impressive piece of work, and you have every right to be.
And the other thing, last time we put the magazine together in 7 months because of COVID, and this time I put the same magazine together in 7 weeks. So I think that's I'm rather proud of that. Obviously, you know, I think it's and you know, I've just been really enjoying. Basically just putting it together, and I've been finding almost the same enthusiasm that, you know, that hopefully people will pick it up, will get, just going through and going, wow, you know, and coming up with ideas for features and making sure it all kind of fits together, but it's still interesting and it's still legible, and having a bit of fun, you know, with the type and things. And I like to think this is probably the best thing we put together. I think this is hopefully in terms of, you know, I mean, I look at these almost as almost like a portfolio of my work, you know, and I think this is the strongest print magazine we've ever put together in 29 years, you know. So I think this is people who are fans of comics, if they love movies, if they love horror, you know, I really think there's something for everyone here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a bold statement to.
Well, all right, I hope so. I did qualify it by saying hopefully.
Yeah, but no, I'm looking through, and I've been thoroughly impressed with what I've seen. So, Joel, you have every right to be proud. And
thank you. I'm very pleased. It kind of feels weird to be at the end of it, but I do feel very proud that we've put another print mag out, and it's going to the printers tomorrow. It'll be back, you know, on the 17th of November. But you know, people should check out the Indiegogo because we've got some really cool stuff. You know, some really nice stuff. You know, we're doing a Sherlock Holmes print from the last issue, so there was a splash page in the Empire Builders strip. So Andy Bennett, people were able to get that. I mentioned the pastiche posters, some really nifty T-shirts, just some really cool stuff. You know, and we've tried to kind of layer it so that there's something for everyone at each level.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's an impressive looking project, and yeah, I really do recommend everybody to dive past and check out the Indiegogo page. Once again, we've had that that URL up on screen one more time, indiegogo.com/project tripwire-winter-2021-print-special #flash. So do check that project out, and give it as much support as you possibly can to old school print when it comes to.
Actually, there are a few characters missing from that, Leonard, unfortunately.
Well, that's what's come up on my screen.
Is this? Well,
So
have you found that? Does that link work?
yeah, I found that. I found the project, and
Oh, well,
that's
then that's
what.
fine.
Yeah,
Then
that's why it's there.
Okay, maybe that's because I'm logged in, so it might be something specific. But perfect.
In
Thank you.
fact, if I just go to share screen again, I
Yeah.
might as well show people the.
Yes, please do. So we've got a very nifty Hellboy cover to tie in with our 35 years of Dark Horse, which is a feature I forgot to mention actually, which is we've got an exclusive interview with Mike Richardson in there talking about the history. We've got some nifty Dark Horse covers. We've got to look at the history of the company because 35 years, that's quite a milestone, for anybody. So we've got the Folio Society as well. We like kind of cool hardback books. We've got interviews with the art directors from, as I said, I've forgotten everything, and we got my photos of comic creators, people like Liam Sharp, Alan Moore, Guillermo del Toro. We got a lot of really cool stuff in there.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's an impressive campaign. Do check it out. Lots of perks and lots of rewards for grabs. Do head to Indiegogo for more information on those. And yeah, it's a hell of a thing. Congratulations on
Yes,
all your
people can go
efforts
to
on that.
tripwiremagazine.co.uk as well for kind of related stuff if they want to check out interviews and also for stuff relating to the Bristol show. If people once that launches.
I'm not going to lie. While the print special, the winter edition, has been the thing that that you've been involved in, which I'm excited about. It is the Bristol Comic Con. I can't wait to get that the information started to get shared about that. Do you have an idea of when that is going to go live?
Well, it'll be sometime this week, probably hopefully the first half of this week. That's the hope, and we will be sharing it, and we're sharing it with yourself. So I'm trying. I know it sounds very cagey, but we've sent a few extra bits in. We're waiting to get an actual drop dead live date, but it will definitely be this week.
Just don't leave it too late because people will be busy at Thought Bubble and we'll just miss it all. So
I know it'll definitely be live before that. So I mean, if people are at Thought Bubble, I'll also be giving away postcards with the URL on, so that people won't be able to escape the Indiegogo. So.
Well, very, very few people are able to escape you at the best of times.
Well, that's very true.
Well, so yeah, that's looking good. I'm just trying to think what else we can kind of talk about. I mean, I am going to do a very quick review of Eternals. Have you seen the film at all? I don't think you have.
I haven't seen it yet because Disney, in their wisdom, decided not to invite me to any of the screenings. So
swines. That little rodent, he really needs a slap.
Exactly, but obviously, it's obviously a good sign, to not invite all the press to the Eternals.
I personally liked it, and like I said, I'm going to dive into.
I haven't seen it, unfortunately. I do intend to check it out. So
fair enough. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Joel, I'm going to let you get off and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. But thank you very much.
It's always my pleasure, Len. Thanks for having me on as ever, and you enjoy the rest of your evening as well.
Indeed. I mean, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to do a show next weekend because either I'll be traveling back from Harrogate or we're going to be out and about and having our adventures out onto Harrogate streets. But we are hopefully going to have a little bit of a recap middle of the week after. But no, looking forward to catching up with you, sir.
Yeah, likewise. I'm looking forward to the show. As I said, anybody who can put a show on in 2021 has my huge admiration.
Absolutely. Joel, take care and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
It's always a pleasure. Take care.
Excellent.
Take care.
You too.
Take care.
So there you go. That's Joel Meadows. And once again, do check out his Indiegogo because what he's achieved with the print special really is quite special. Okay, a couple of things I do want to get into before I do wrap up today. Like I say, I've got two shows that I'm going to be attending in person. That's going to be in the next weekend is Thought Bubble taking place at Harrogate. Then the week after, myself and Caroline are both going to be attending Wales Comic Con. This is the Wales Telford Comic Con, the international centre. So it's not necessarily in Wales, but just a stone's throw over the border. So it's the Telford Takeover. We've had the organisers of Wales Comic Con already turn around and say that they are going to be doing quite a lot in 2022 to expand their portfolio, expand their dates. They are going to be returning to Wales, but they are also going to be doing some more additional dates when it comes to Telford. So they really are embracing moving forward with that venue. And to be fair, considering that we talked about Thought Bubble and a number of their international cancellations, what Wales are actually doing with their particular guests for this year is quite impressive, actually. They haven't, while they have lost a number of international guests, the actual guests that are still in place is very, very impressive indeed. I'm showing you the Facebook page at the moment. It is Billie Piper on screen there. That was announced at the beginning of last week. She'll be joining at the international show, so hopefully I get the chance to see Billie. Considering I think I've met her once at an MCon show, so looking forward to catching up with her again, especially with the amazing year that she's had. But yes, the international guests are still, or the guests generally are still very impressive for Wales. Evangelina Lilly, Sean Astin, Billy Boyd, John Barrowman. If you head to walescomiccon.com/guests, all listed up there as well. Ian McDiarmid is certainly our highlight. Plenty of wrestling stars as well making their fair appearance. But a couple of the Americans that are catching my attention, Edward James Olmos and Mary McDonnell, are still confirmed for joining everybody in Telford, as is Summer Glau and Jules State. Who else we've got? Michael Shanks, Joe Flanagan. They just had a great a panel that was hosted at the FAX convention in Gwent in Belgium, which apparently went down incredibly well. I saw a couple of the video clips of what was happening at in Belgium, and FAX just put on an incredible show. So congratulations to them. That was at this weekend just gone. Yeah, some like I say, for all of the international cancellations, the ones that are still on online is still very impressive. Juliet Landau, Charisma Carpenter, Mercedes McNabb from Buffy. You've got Holly Marie Coombs from Charmed, along with Brian Krause, Robert Lorne Taylor. Yeah, it still remains an incredible lineup. And very much looking forward to seeing how that develops over the course of the next couple of days. Okay, let's get into this then. It's now 7:05, so we're an hour in. So let's do a 5-minute spoiler-free impressions of Marvel's Eternals, which I saw today, saw this afternoon. So I basically saw the film and came straight home to organize this stream. So Marvel's Eternals. We're talking another installment in the fourth phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, following on, of course, from Black Widow, which was a prequel, and Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings, another way of expanding the universe further out. Considering that we have had the end of Phase 3, closing off with that amazing line in the sand, which was the double hitter of Endgame and Infinity War and Endgame, which you basically then feel, where on earth does the universe seem to go from there? And to be fair, it does seem like the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself can't quite figure it out as well. It does understand that it has to go hard or go home, but it seems to be going hard and sort of in too many directions. We're talking about the multiverse, which has been teased in the likes of WandaVision and also Loki. You've got yourself the multiverse of madness, which is going to be brought up in both Doctor Strange 2 and also the Spider-Man No Way Home, which comes shortly on big screens. And with this film, we open up a whole other avenue. We're definitely riffing on the Jack Kirby comics of yesteryear, those Golden Age classics, which admittedly, even back then, the books were incredibly dense, and they are mirrored. That is mirrored in this adaptation. It has not come off particularly well with critic reviews, and also audience reviews as well have come very heavily on the negative. It's indeed a couple of entertainment sites more than happy to proclaim about this is the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score of all the MCU films. I don't necessarily believe it deserves that level of criticism. At the end of the day, it's following over 10 years of incredible world building, which as we've had over the course of 30 odd films. and all the small screen projects as well. All of these films that have built and built and built and built, and then you have the kind of that line in the sand with Infinity War and Endgame. So where does the MCU go with Eternals? It goes to the new gods. It goes to the Eternals. It goes to the Celestials. It goes to the Deviants, and it goes to that massive soap opera of that. And the way that they've approached it, they've taken on an Oscar-winning director. They've got the most woke, air quotes, and inclusive and diversive character list going. They have one of the most impressive cast lists outside of Dune. It really is supposedly ticking all the boxes. So why doesn't it quite work? I think it's because it's working, but not as an MCU film, because people are expecting so much of their MCU films. They're expecting a certain level of emotional connection and that kind of grand hurrah, that kind of the goosebumps coming up on the arms as the costumed heroes come in and swoop in and save the day. That grand hurrah is kind of missing from this film, purely because of the stakes that are being presented. Like I say, this is going to be spoiler free, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But the general storyline of the Eternals is the millennia straddling conflict between the Eternals, which are the kind of ground troop warriors put in place by the Celestials, against the Deviants, which are out to kill life in the galaxy, and they are pitted against each other to kind of create a harmonious balance. This is where things start to get a little bit not confusing, but just fractured, because at the end of the day, in the story, we spanned several thousand years, 7,000 years or something, and apparently the Deviants have been beaten. So it becomes then about the actual characters themselves, and it becomes more of a character piece. And I think we kind of saw it with Loki, when you have a character just kind of sitting there and spooling exposition at other people and just kind of talking to each other. Characters just talking to each other. They have to do it really, really well, and they have to kind of really capture some of your attention, or you kind of get lost in that moment. And all those really small moments that we saw in previous MCU films, this is basically a whole film of those really small moments, interspersed with some pretty high-end CG slugfests. It does kind of feel like it's a bunch of pixels hitting each other on occasion, but it is backed up to some degree with some impressive character work, with some, like I say, impressive actors. Again, it does feel a little bit of a fractured mess, if anything, because it just feels like we're going to have to go big, no pun intended, with the massive Celestials and the imagery that evokes. I think the difference is we had, for example, Ant-Man, which was a great success, and it went all the way back to just being a heist film. You can't quite put a handle on what this is. I mean, you can turn around and say that for example, Thor Ragnarok, it was a comedy action film. Ant-Man was a heist film. Captain Marvel, a coming of age film. This film doesn't necessarily have something tangible you can kind of grab hold of. And at the end as well, it's a lot of kind of noise and thunder, and it kind of gets a little bit fractured, and it ends up, I think the best way I can describe it is it's one of the most interesting pedestrian films I've ever seen, in that there's stuff that's worth talking about, but it just, I don't know if it's enough to warrant 2.5 hours of somebody's time. I don't also kind of see how this would exist in any other format, because I don't think it would work, say, for example, on a small screen. I think that would really stretch keeping people's attention. This film, then, it hinges on that incredible cast, and it's a case of getting that connection, and you have to kind of make it relatable to the audience. And that is very difficult to do when everybody on screen is just an immortal punching god. There's no real hook, and it makes it very difficult to kind of work with. Also, doesn't necessarily help as well that it's the central relationship between it's the two characters. Icarus is one of them, and Sunny, her name escapes me at the moment. The characters, the chemistry isn't there. You don't quite get that sort of like love across time that it's trying to sell. So it just doesn't quite seem to work. And then by the end of it, it's a lot of names just being bandied about, and you wonder why you necessarily would care. Even though if you were living in the MCU at that point, you really would have just flipped your lid and just gone and just said, no, I'm out. Time out. I can't deal with this anymore. We've had half the universe disappearing and then coming back, and now we've got this happening, and you really would just I don't know how you would react. But the actual universe itself, the MCU, seems to be a little bit too battered to have this kind of film to just kind of drop in and do its thing. Would I watch it again? Yes. I think I'm up for seeing it in 3D. I'd like to see how some of the epic scenes work in that kind of large 3D format. It's very much like Black Widow in this regard, though. I haven't seen Black Widow again since I saw it in the cinema. I am not. It's not something I would sit down and just plow through. And I think it is a hard slog. Let's put it this way. I understand why people are down on the film. I did enjoy it because people are down on the film because it's different to every other MCU film out there. I enjoyed it because it was different. It's trying something new, and it's trying something epic. It could have just done without a little bit of that Marvel magic, which may have just taken a little bit of a backseat on this particular production. It's a shame. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much indeed for sticking with that. That's my spoiler-free take on Eternals, which is available in cinemas right now across the globe, released this week. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Thank you very much indeed for Joel for joining us to talk about Tripwire. Tripwire presents Bristol Comic Con and the print magazine as well. Next week, I don't know if we're going to be actually having a show. Usually we try and do something as like a live report, but we have found in previous years that it's very difficult to do something from the likes of Thought Bubble because the show is either still going on, or signal's very difficult to get hold of, or it's just very difficult to kind of get something together for that time of the day. So what I suspect we'll be doing is postponing it for a couple of days, and then either on the Monday or the Tuesday, we'll give you a post Thought Bubble 2021 update. However, I am going to be doing some live streaming throughout the course of the weekend. It's either going to be on our Instagram page or it's going to be up on YouTube. Keep your eyes open. Probably the best thing to do is actually hit notifications on our YouTube page. So please, if you would like to, subscribe, like, comment, let us know what you thought about today's show and what you would like to see at Thought Bubble, as I will do my best to get around and see as much as I possibly can. But I'll try and do some live streaming from inside the International Convention Centre at Harrogate next weekend. Thought Bubble 2021. It's the first major multi-room convention, comic book, comic art and comic creators based convention here in the UK. So looking forward to seeing what they do at Harrogate. Yeah, whatever I can try and point my camera towards, I'll do my best for next week. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much indeed. And stay safe. Get those booster jabs where you can. Wear your mask. And we will see you on the next episode of Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. For myself, we'll see you soon. Good night.